Hello and welcome to another episode of Ask a Graham. All referencing an associate of mine aside, today is my 21st birthday. Special occasion, I know. Here's hoping this doesn't get canceled at all. I asked you guys to give me questions, and I'm here to answer them, so without further ado, let's get started. First set of questions comes from Adam Marley, who asks, which Sonic character is your favorite? My favorite is still Blaze the Cat. Her role as a princess from another dimension alongside the fact of how antisocial she could be at several instances but still cares for her friends. There's always something about Blaze that just resonates with me in a lot of her appearances, like the Rush games, Team Sonic Racing, Generations, and even Sonic 06. Aside from her fire motif as well, which of course, as you guys all know me well, I like pyrokinetic powers. Is there any game you think is underrated? Yes, there's quite a lot of games I think are underrated, but I'll only list a select few. The Cars 2 video games, specifically the PS3 and Xbox 360 version of those games, since the Wii and PC versions of the game are graphically downgraded and worse, with the PC version just downright being bad, and the rest of the ports are completely different games. Disney's Extreme Skate Adventure has its charm about skating around a lot of famous locations from Disney's classic films like Toy Story's Andy's Room and Pizza Planet, and my favorite being The Lion King's Pride Rock. All of Ciatra's library of games with their charm capture the style of games from the PS1 and N64 like the Torii games and Super Kiwi 64, while others like Beanie go for having inspirations taken from Donkey Kong Country on the Super Nintendo. Pac-Man 256 is the most recent of his selection of games that I played, with an interesting and fun formula of the maze style of gameplay that is so iconic. And lastly is Killer Love, a visual novel game that focuses on romance but also dark topics surrounding stuff like manipulation, love bombing, psychological trauma, loneliness, obsession, and others. It's not a game for the faint of heart. Do you have a favorite movie franchise? If so, what is your favorite and why? That will probably have to be the How to Train Your Dragon franchise. All of the films were able to produce amazing and wonderful stories surrounding the tale of Vikings and dragons. I especially love watching these films with my dad. My favorite movie of the trilogy is How to Train Your Dragon 2, and before anyone asks me, I actually am kind of excited for the live-action remake. Biri asks, are there any reboots from any media you like? Primarily reboots from video games such as Ninja Gaiden Sigma, DMC Devil May Cry, Modern Warfare 2019, Doom 2016, Star Fox Zero, yes I thought the game was good, and the Ratchet & Clank 2016 reboot. With movies, it's Pokemon the Movie I Choose You, Mortal Kombat 2021, and The Incredible Hulk. And with TV shows, I'd probably say Thunderbirds or Go. These are about the main ones I can think of from the top of my head. Otherwise, other reboots to me I either haven't seen, just think are okay, or I just fucking hate. Any favorite songs? So this type of question will come back later, but instead the person who asked will be asking it as a top 5, so for now all I'll say is Castle That Burns by Will Ryan. Least favorite kids movie? That has to go to Thomas and the Magic Railroad. The movie just downright didn't click to me, and I was a massive Thomas fan until I was 9 years old. So this movie kind of annoyed me back then. I haven't seen it since then. I might rewatch it sometime in the future, but I'm not getting my hopes up. Crazy Flame 7 asks, what was your favorite game that was released this year so far? As I'm writing this, I haven't played it yet since it wasn't released by the time I'm editing and uploading this video, but fuck it. Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition. I know I'll be playing for it because I got my pre-order down. It still counts, so checkmate, atheists. Okay, next up is Dancer Finn, who was the only person who asked me on my Blue Sky, and they asked, do you have any pets, and if so, how many and what kind? Right now, we currently have 2 dogs and 2 cats. We used to have 2 other dogs, particularly pit bulls, but one had to be put down in 2022, and the other one had to be put down in October 2023 due to it having a massive blood blister. We had a history with pets, as there were 2 more pit bulls that used to be from one of my other older brothers, 1 chihuahua when I was 9 to 10 named Cruz, 2 birds, 1 rabbit, and I remember we also used to own a tortoise as well, so me and my family have quite a history with pets. If you like Pokemon, what would you say your favorite is? That's easy. Lucario. I think what got me hooked on Lucario was the cutscene where it was introduced in the Subspace Emissary story mode of Super Smash Bros. Brawl, and I immediately fell in love with it. And when I finally got to playing as it in Smash 4, I loved using Lucario. Hell, actually managing to use one on my post-game Pokemon Sword team was awesome, and I even managed to catch one of my Pokemon Violet team when I was nearing the Victory Road story path that was over-leveled as fuck, and to use it on my team in that game as well was amazing. I still need to see the Pokemon movie Lucario and the Mystery of Mew, but honestly, that's practically my story of Lucario and how it became my favorite out of all over 1,000 Pokemon. Dogesman asks, so you go to a restaurant and sit by the table. There are 2 napkins next to each other. Which one do you pick? The one to your left, or the one to your right? Oh boy, I feel like I'm being set up for something. I don't really go to restaurants all that often, but when I do, and let's say if there were napkins on both the left and right side, I'd probably go with the napkins on the left. Edgelord asks, favorite hero? That's a no-brainer for me. Aegis from Persona 3. Her journey throughout the game just brings out some of the absolute best of what Persona does in terms of its story writing and character growth. She may be a robot, but she's one of the most human-like and relatable characters in the whole fucking franchise. What is your favorite show? If you were to ask me this last year, if I didn't cancel my 20th birthday Q&A of course, I would have said Ruby. Don't worry, I still love the show. But lately, I would say Cobra Kai. I remember watching the first 5 seasons in the span of a week and a half and enjoyed everything about it. I will say though, I haven't been as invested because of season 6 of Cobra Kai. I still need to finish, and I've been on and off with the season because season 6 is probably my least favorite while still being good and even great in several areas. Your thoughts on Crash Bandicoot 4? I mean, I haven't played it, but graphics for it look pretty okay on the PS2 with an amazing soundtrack to boot. But I have heard it has a heavy reliance on vehicle sections, which I don't mind of course. Oh wait, they mean the other Crash 4 from October 2020. Yeah, I haven't played that one either, which is funny because I have played the insane remastered bundle of the Crash trilogy on my Switch and love it to bits. And Crash 4 is accessible on the Switch as well. I just haven't gotten around to buying it yet, primarily because I've been solely looking at other games I also want to get. Exfredds asks, what do you like more, Xenoblade or Devil May Cry? Both franchises are great, but Xenoblade is my top pick, no fucking contest. I just can't explain other than the fact that while both franchises are able to hit me well with hard-hitting stories and adrenaline and tactical-like gameplay, especially Devil May Cry with its fun combat system, Xenoblade Chronicles has managed to make me cry so fucking much, and I've always loved the worlds and the world building the series also offers more. Damn, this pick will definitely make the devil cry. Fuck. Any experience with Five Nights at Freddy's? Personally, no. I remember FNAF was discussed so much around my intermediate days when I was 11 or 13, since most of my classmates back then were into the franchise, even if they might have never played the games themselves. For me, I can get into it because back then, I wasn't a fan of horror games, primarily because I don't like getting scared, which wasn't the franchise's fault, might I add. I can deal with anything horror-related. Nowadays, I've been thinking of getting into a FNAF game. I mean, I have tackled FNAF-related content on my channel before and on others as well, so it couldn't hurt to try at least. What do you like more, Sonic Generations or Shadow Generations? Being real, I can't pick. In terms of Sonic Generations, I prefer the overall feel of the controls, the level design, the soundtrack, and the challenge acts. Whereas with Shadow Generations, I prefer the white space, the story and dialogue, the graphics, the boss fights, and the utilization of the moveset. Both games I feel like do a great job in almost all these categories, except for Sonic Gens with the story and Shadow Gens with the challenge acts. But even with those exceptions, it's hard to choose for me, but it's pretty undecided. Garrett Murphy asks, do you think Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars will be better than Infinity War and Endgame? While time won't tell for sure until Doomsday and Secret Wars actually comes out, I'm honestly not holding my breath to be honest. Because even with the duds prior to the build-up for Infinity War and Endgame, the content that we got for the Infinity Saga of the MCU, most of them are not only well praised, but built up the two films spectacularly well. After Endgame, everything just went downhill from there. From Phase 4 onwards, we only got a small portion of films and shows that were greatly received, a good number of films and shows that were incredibly mixed, and a lot of them are just completely bad. Because even with the good, the MCU has been declining a lot in terms of overall quality, and that's really sad to see. And sure, Doomsday and Secret Wars can actually be very good films, and even have a slight possibility of surpassing Infinity War and Endgame. But in order for it to happen, the writers will need to make the ideas and overall execution of the concept they are wanting to go for to, well, execute well. General Technomage asks, 21 is a great milestone since it's the earliest one can drink alcohol. You're gonna celebrate your birthday with that? Believe it or not, the minimum drinking age in New Zealand is actually 18 years old. In fact, 64% of the world's nations have legal drinking ages of 18. But to overall answer the question, no, I will not. That's because I don't like the effects alcohol has on people when people get drunk. Everyone has different tolerances in terms of how they handle alcohol, and considering it's easy to get addicted once you're used to the taste, I don't ever want to find out if I'm a light or heavy drinker. And I especially don't want to find out what will happen to me if I'm drunk. Whether I get hangovers, falls or accidents, nausea, and the worst one I'm afraid of, having the intoxication alter my behavior to where I get violent, and I've had bad memories of that happening to people around me during house parties. I'm not saying that will happen, but due to past experiences of people around me with violent intoxication effects, and just everything around it, I don't ever want to find out. Only beer I'll ever drink is ginger beer. Greninja, the Mario Kart and Pokemon fan asks, what do you think of the Mega Mushroom, Power Block, and Thundercloud from Mario Kart Wii, and do you think any of those items should return? I think all three of the items are really good items, and in terms if I think any of them should return, yeah, I think they have a good chance of returning. I mean, the Mega Mushroom made a return in Mario Kart Tour, and the Power Block and Thundercloud's last appearance was in Mario Kart Arcade GP Deluxe in 2013, but in terms of the overall appearance of them console-wise, I would love to see them return. Here's hoping we do get that in the upcoming Mario Kart title for the Nintendo Switch 2, which I will be reacting to the Switch 2 Direct, hoping to get some friends on board for that as well, so expect that sometime this month. Do you think Mario Kart Wii is unbalanced with its vehicles? It's been quite a while since I last played Mario Kart Wii, but I never actually had that complaint about the game. Hell, I never had any problems with the game in general. I think the game is one of those in the series I consider to be almost flawless because of course not every video game is perfect. If the fake item box were to return, how would you fix it? I guess make it look exactly like the real ones, but make sure it camouflages with the real ones if you place it near a set of the real item boxes. Also make sure it spins as well. I can kinda tell one person in my comments will probably go at me and say, that's too much, that make an RNG game even more RNG. Like, make sure you have some differences to the fake item boxes, like keep the upside down question mark of course. It wouldn't be the fake item box without it, but make sure the boxes are completely camouflaged with the rest, so that it makes the item less avoidable to dodge. Hardhead Guy 42 asks, if there is one game you know of that should get more attention, what would it be? I mentioned Killer Love and how that visual novel game is, in my opinion, pretty good, but if I want to say one I haven't discussed here yet, I haven't played it yet, but the Nameless game. A horror game on the DS that pushes the limitations as to what the DS is capable of, and it's pretty impressive. However, because it's a horror game, it's of course much like Killer Love, not for the faint of heart. Do you like anime? And if so, which one is your favorite? I love anime, and my favorite is Sword Art Online. I'm aware that the anime is problematic as fucking shit, but this was the anime that got me into it in the first place, so there's some slight biases towards that. But even after rewatching the show like so many times, I can't bring myself to simply dislike it. I love this anime so much despite its many problems. What is your least favorite trope in games? That is to go to tailing missions. The missions where you have to stay behind an enemy and sometimes hide behind shit so that they don't see you. They're boring, usually paced horribly, and overall just annoying. I can't remember what game was my first exposure to tailing missions, but I remember there was a tailing mission at the beginning of the third act in Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots, where you have to stay behind one of the Resistance members and tail his ass until you reach the Resistance's hideout. It wasn't fun, and while it didn't ruin Act 3 for me, because the rest of the act was still great, the tailing mission was my least favorite part of the chapter and the game as a whole. ImObvPreston asked me, what's your favorite video game soundtrack out of all the ones you played? If this was my 20th birthday Q&A, I would have said Xenoblade Chronicles 2, but the more that I thought about it, and after playing through all of the games in the trilogy, my new favorite has to go to Xenoblade Chronicles 3. The fucking amount of symbolism a lot of the game's soundtrack, and it also seamlessly blends its storytelling into the composition, making it a masterpiece all around. And anyone who has played the game before or has a very great knowledge of the story absolutely knows what the fuck I'm talking about. And while it's a soundtrack from a video game, the instrumentation was done amazingly that you'd actually think that this is a soundtrack from a modern day movie. The fact that a video game soundtrack from a Nintendo game was able to compose such a movie-level soundtrack in a game that was released in 2022 is downright impressive. It's one of those soundtracks where the personal experience makes it all the more worth it in my eyes. Mr. Fredfire asks, do you know anything about DDLC? If so, who's your favorite character? I know Doki Doki Literature Club, yes, I've ranked it as my second favorite game I first played in 2021, and I not only have it on Steam, but I also have Doki Doki Literature Club Plus on my Switch, which I still need to finish, mind you. And in terms of my favorite character, it's either between Natsuki and Yuri. Natsuki primarily because there is more to her than being the tsundere that she is, and on the inside, she's not only a sweet character, but also someone who's very knowledgeable and hyper-fixated on the stuff she loves, like her love for making cupcakes, reading manga, and even finding the joys and symbolism in poetry. I find Yuri very relatable, aside from her being a yandere and having an obsession with knives, but her social anxiety just screams at me, as I would usually have a hard time speaking to people, especially towards those I don't know that well, and even very passionate about the topic she's interested in. She's also me, where while I have gotten better at it, she does have a tendency to not think what she says at times, being a bit innocently insensitive, and when she realizes what she said was rude, she immediately apologizes, usually repeatedly saying that she doesn't mean it. So yeah, those two. Piffle NEO asks, one's more of a joke, but do you think in my lore Campbell's getting overstimulated by the fur field, the place my videos usually take place in? No. At most, Campbell would just be calm, focused, and curious about the scenery he's in, rather than being overstimulated. I mean, motherfucker lives in a dystopian city that was destroyed because of an incident caused by him that he didn't realize. At this point, it's almost impossible to overstimulate him over sceneries like the fur field or the realm of memories. Besides Campbell and 2B, what's your favorite character you've made for the channel lore? I think all of the other characters that are in the channel lore so far are decently written, but I think Carrots and Rose coming in a close second. Carrots is a comic relief asshole who is honestly kind of hard to hate, and Rose so far, it's a little bit hard to properly describe her character because she hasn't made that many appearances yet, but I like what I'm doing with her character so far. PuzzleGear asks, do you like stick figures? Yeah, I like them. What's your most anticipated game of 2025? An obvious pick would be Grand Theft Auto 6, but others are Metroid Prime 4 and the 100-line Last Defense Academy, which is basically if Danganronpa and Fire Emblem had a child. I know it's more than that, of course, but holy fuck, the game looks awesome so far. And I said this in my reaction video on my group channel Federation of the Exalted, but I really want to use the MC Takumi Sumino as an avatar one day.
Oh, a new Danganronpa game. Damn, I sure can't wait for everybody in the SCC to start using these guys as avatars.
No, I can't wait to see for everyone to use these avatars regardless.
I'm taking the red hair guy, he's so neat. How often do you make videos? Originally when I started, it was very common for me to upload. It would have always been like once or twice every week or two, but nowadays and lately with me having mental health struggles with depression, self-worth issues and whatnot, It's been like, I try to get videos out whenever I can, and when I work on them is when I'm just in the right headspace. Because after all, working on content just isn't fun no matter what phase of a video you're in when you're just mentally not in the right mindset to do it. It's why content creation has slowed down so much in 2023, and especially 2024 for me. I never had this big of an issue in 2018 to 2022, but nowadays it's been... ugh. Riley asks, who is your favorite character in the Final Fantasy XIII trilogy? I would honestly have to say Noel Christ, particularly because I fucking love his personality in both Final Fantasy XIII 2 and Lightning Returns. His backstory is pretty good in my opinion, I love his design, and I especially love the role that he plays within the events of Lightning Returns as well. I feel like he's easily one of the most fleshed out characters in the trilogy, in a cast that isn't really all that good, and I say that as someone who loves the cast from the Final Fantasy XIII games, by the way. Favorite game from the 4Kids era of Sonic? I honestly have no idea how long the 4Kids era went on for Sonic. Does that also equal the Dark Ages Sonic that ended in 2009 with Sonic and the Black Knight? Cause if yes, then my favorite would have to be Sonic Unleashed for obvious reasons, but for those that don't know, long story short, Sonic Unleashed is my favorite Sonic game of all time, former favorite video game of all time that held that title for 10 years before getting dethroned by Persona 3 Fez, before Fez got dethroned by Persona 3 Reload, but if not, then Shadow the Hedgehog. What is the hardest Sonic game you have played and why? I think I remember getting asked this before, but I'd have to say Sonic Rush. Particularly because the later levels from Stage 4 onward do get really challenging with a lot of bombless pits that can be pretty easy to fall down in if you fuck up, because of the game's challenging level design. Plus, apparently from what I heard, the game is also one of the hardest Sonic games to 100% S rank. May not be the best pick, and I know other people might disagree with me heavily, but... ugh. Ryan Thomas Fisk asks, what are your top 5 favorite songs? Okay, now we're here. If I wanted to go the easy route, all of the top 5 would go to music from video games, but I do have favorites outside of that, aside from the aforementioned Castle That Burns by Will Ryan earlier on in this video. I'd say Bring Me to Life by Evanescence, In the End by Linkin Park, Welcome to the Black Parade by My Chemical Romance, How You Remind Me by Nickelback, and my favorite song is My Demons by Starset. Samurai 2020 asks, what games are you looking forward to this year? A lot of games are on my backlog in terms of games releasing in 2025, or at least hoping that they'll be released this year. But to go down the list of the few I'm interested in the most, GTA 6, Metroid Prime 4, The 100 Lines, Sonic Rumble, Sonic Racing Crossworlds, Pokemon Legends ZA, Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater, and Fatal Fury City of the Wolves. There's quite a few that I missed, but those are the games I'm definitely interested in the most. Have you checked out an indie animated show on YouTube? Yes, I have. I've seen Glitch Productions' Meta Runner and the first episode of Sunset Paradise. I don't know if this counts since they were on YouTube before Rooster Teeth took them down on YouTube, but Camp Camp and Ruby as well. What is your favorite level in Shadow Generations? Sunset Heights has to be my favorite, particularly for the fact that the way on how the level design is like is what the original stage should have been. Much longer, and actually providing difficult aspects and multiple different pathways without simply just dashing like a maniac.
You simply press and hold the button to attack, so you can really enjoy ultimately just dashing like a maniac through the stages.
God, that 21-minute Sonic Forces presentation from NHK World TV in 2017 was fucking stupid. Okay, so the next 3 questions all tie in with each other, and they're all from my friend Jack Soroff, aka the Tavern of Sudbury. So these questions will be tackled in a different structure than the rest. Anyways, he asks, if the lore you're working on became a game series, what do you think the genre for it would be? What console would the game benefit from the most? What do you think the inspirations for it would be gameplay-wise? Oh, this is actually going to be a lot of fun to talk about, because for those who keep in touch and follow the channel lore that goes on, specifically those intro and outro skits I make on my channel, I definitely have been wondering about what my lore would be like as a video game, so this is going to be fun to answer and conceptualize. Anyways, I think what I want the genre for it to be is an 3D open-like action RPG. The consoles that I think that would benefit a Rider of Chaos video game the most would probably be the Nintendo Switch and the PlayStation 5. I think if done right, it can run well on the Switch, and especially that we're getting the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct literal hours after this video releases. I guess you can also say it would benefit well on the Switch 2. Xbox I don't trust because of the generative AI model bullshit that they are planning on doing currently. And as an artist and a voice actor, I hate AI generated bullshit, and I don't want a Rider of Chaos game touching Microsoft with a 10-foot pole. I think it would also benefit well on Steam, but that's personally debatable to me. I think it can, I'm just not 100% sure on that TBH. And the inspirations for a Rider of Chaos game gameplay wise, I'd say the combat will be heavily inspired from the Xenoblade Chronicles series, because of fucking course it would. The open areas, I wanted to take inspiration from Genshin Impact specifically. Dungeon-wise, I'd definitely say something along the lines of Persona 5, and in-game dialogue, I wanted to play like how the Tales games do it, specifically during the boss fights. So yeah, those are the concepts I plan for a potential Rider of Chaos game. If a company ever wanted to make something like that, it would be a fucking dream if it ever happened one day. TILPICKLE asks, do you have a personal favorite movie? My favorite movie changes quite a bit between Kung Fu Panda 2 and How to Train Your Dragon 2. I think both films and franchises are some of DreamWorks' best works, and to me, Kung Fu Panda 2 ticks all the boxes in terms of how to create a perfect animated story and isn't afraid to be a dark film. This movie had me on the edge of my seat the entire time watching it. The humor was top notch, the emotional moments really fucking shined. All the characters are at their best in this film, and Lord Shen is probably my favorite villain ever, really. How to Train Your Dragon 2 is the film in the series I go back to the most. Much like with Kung Fu Panda 2, I think this film also brings their characters at their best, has a fucking scary antagonist. The new characters introduced in this film like Volca and Aerith are well written characters, and it has some of the most emotional moments in the series. I think everyone had their time to shine in this film pretty well, which is something all three of the movies share pretty consistently. Even with the characters that don't have the biggest roles do help out pretty well, all things considered. But if I had to pick one out of the two currently, I would easily say Kung Fu Panda 2, which I think is probably the film that could be considered the movie I legit had zero fucking problems with. TonySonic asks, who's your favorite Xenoblade character? Shulk is easily my favorite without question. He's very intelligent, kind, a bit of a klutz when it comes to remembering to eat during the day, a fucking badass with the Minato. The backstory that he has that ties in with part of the core Xenoblade lore is downright impressive, and even makes his revenge arc of Xenoblade 1 all the more worth it when he makes it much more than how the trope would always be done. And Xenoblade's twist on that is impressive. I also like his characterization in Xenoblade Chronicles 3 Future Redeemed for not only being a great leader and a good father, but also a fucking dilf with a mechanical arm. I'm sorry, but that's peak Shulk design right there, like, holy fucking hell. Do you prefer Minecraft or Terraria? Minecraft by default. I've never played Terraria, but that's only because it never interested me all that much, to be honest. Any expectations for Sonic Racing Crossworlds? Quite a fucking lot, and after hearing some great things from people who played the beta test of the game, they love what they played, and it makes me even more excited for the official release. I mean, come on, it's a game that is combining the formulas of Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transform and the Sonic Riders trilogy. You can't go wrong with that. I hope. If I jinx myself right then and there, I'm disowning this video. Wizard Pirate 13 asks, would you ever consider doing movie/TV series reviews, and if so, what would you review? I have been considering it. I remember making a community post specifying I wanted to do a review on RWBY at some point. The only reason why I haven't done any reviews about any movies or TV series is just because if you're not careful with how you present your footage, your video can get copyrighted and can either get blocked or taken down. I stick to video game reviews because only a few things are copyrighted, but nothing like video game footage warrants a copyright block or takedown. But in terms of any movies or shows I'd like to review someday if I ever wanted to, I guess I'd more so focus on specifically anime reviewing, and I would really like to cover Ruby, Sword Art Online, and Akame ga Kill in particular. Who is your biggest inspiration with making this channel? Unlike what I do for the channel where I've had inspirations for what I do, I do not think I ever had any inspirations in terms of making the channel. I just saw a whole bunch of videos on YouTube and wanted to become a content creator myself, so here I am. And lastly, the final set of questions come from XenoJamie 2003, and they ask, you want Xenoblade Chronicles to be M-rated? I'm assuming you're referring to the ESRB ratings T and M17+, since there are multiple different M rating types. No, because I think the T rating that the ESRB gave the games are perfectly acceptable. There's nothing too explicit about the games, like blood is rare, and I mean, I counted 4 usages of blood in the entire series. And while death is common in the series, 95% of deaths in the series anyways don't show blood, and when they do, it isn't too gratuitous in order to warrant them an M rating. Nudity is only partial, especially in games like Xenoblade 2, where while they have many characters with suggestive looking outfits, they keep the nudity to a bare minimum, like Mithra, Bridget, and Zenobia. The worst of a swear word the characters say is shit, which even then the usage of that word is on a rare occurrence, since words like bastard, hell, and ass are more common usages of vulgar language that the games use anyway. And while the games are violence focused, it's not strong and intensely realistic. Because unless Xenoblade pulls a Shin Megami Tensei and Persona, where they do showcase genitalia that would warrant themselves an M rating, or be very bloody and gory like Call of Duty or Mortal Kombat, I think Xenoblade's rating is acceptable. And finally, do you have the Xenosaga trilogy? No, I do not, but after finishing the entire Xenoblade trilogy and currently going through Xenoblade Chronicles X, I really want to try the other games in the Xeno Meta series, and Xenosaga has always looked like a game trilogy that would be right up my alley. Hell, Monolith Soft ain't even afraid to reference the games in the Xenoblade series, by putting in Cosmos as the rarest fucking blade in Xenoblade Chronicles 2, even putting her alongside Noah, Mio, Elma, Shulk, Fiora, Rex, Pyra, and Mithra in Monolith Soft's 25th anniversary special video. Gotta love it. Anyways, that is all the questions done. Thank you all so much for asking questions with Issues Q&A. I'll try to do this again for my 22nd birthday next year. Once I react to the Switch 2 Direct, I'll try to get the reaction out as soon as I can. At any rate, I'm User1 Campbell. Thank you all so much once again. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all next time.